Good night.
Good evening.
Good
Welcome to
evening.
another episode of Territory Talk. I'm your co-host Shaina Smith, along with my co-host, Mr. Christopher Famous. We give apologies for Eden Hurlston tonight from the Cayman Islands, as he's unable to make it. And looking forward to tonight's conversation. Go
Yes.
ahead, Chris.
Good night and welcome to once again another episode. I swear this must be our anniversary episode to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Episode of Territories Talk. It's been an exciting year of meeting and talking to the people from around the region, talking about the concerns. And tonight we have a very special lineup. We have a guest from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, Miss Jadi. Did I pronounce that correctly?
It's actually JD Keynes.
JD Keynes, sorry.
Yes.
JD Keynes, PR specialist, communications extraordinaire. And from the island of St. Maarten, the Dutch side, we have Miss Pamela Gordon Carthy, leader of the U.S. party. Did I say that correctly? Is it
Yes,
party
you did.
or faction?
USP party, yes, US party.
Okay. Do they just say us or do they say U.S.?
They say us.
Us. And my Ruman from Bonaire, Mr. James Finies from the Bonaire Human Rights Association. So we are going to start off tonight once again thanking all our hundreds of viewers, those who view us on Facebook, those that view us on YouTube, those that look at the shows via our broadcast partners, those being PJEF in Saba, Cayman Road, Caribbean Broadcast Network in the Virgin Islands. We also have Channel 82 in Bermuda, Radio Turks and Caicos, and obviously Turks and Caicos, and channel CBC TV8 in Barbados. We thank you all for being our broadcast partners because without you, the message will be limited. And there's the ethos of this show is for all of us to come together and speak on issues pertaining to our region. So tonight we're going to start off with a brief update of what happened in our sister federation island of St. Kitts and Nevis, who they had a recent federal election. And I turn it over to you now, Ms. J.D. Keynes.
I want to thank you guys so much for having me this evening on Territories Talk. It's definitely a pleasure to be featured this evening, albeit for a short time. I'm excited to be here and to just share with you a synopsis of what happened recently in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, St. Kitts and Nevis, as I mentioned earlier, is a federation, so it's a two-island federation, and we normally have elections pretty often. So in St. Kitts and Nevis, there's an election every 5 years to determine the federal government. We call that the general elections. And then we also have on the island of Nevis specifically, though, a local Nevis Island Assembly election rather. As a matter of fact, the local Nevis Island Assembly election is due by March of 2023, thereabout. So that is really the election that everyone should have been focused on and geared up and hyped about. However, we had something unusual happen, and so the general election, that is the election for St. Kitts and Nevis, was called 3 years early. And so we had the last one in 2020, and so we now recently had one just last week in 2022, and we have seen a change in government in St. Kitts and Nevis. Between St. Kitts and Nevis, there are 11 constituencies, 8 of them being on St. Kitts and 3 being on the island of Nevis. And so what happened was we saw the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party taking the winning the most number of seats. They received 6 seats of the 8 on St. Kitts, and so they were able to form the government. We saw the People's Action Movement, that's one of the oldest political parties in St. Kitts and Nevis, securing just 1 seat, and that is the seat of the party's leader, Sean Richards. We saw the People's Labour Party securing just 1 seat as well, and that was the seat of the leader, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, who happens to be the former Prime Minister. Now, what was unusual about this election is that we had the People's Action Movement and the People's Labour Party from St. Kitts, as well as the Concerned Citizens Movement from Nevis, coming together around 2015 or just before 2015 and calling themselves Team Unity. There was a tripartite coalition formed by the name of Team Unity, and they were able to run the government from 2015 up until 2022. What happened is that in 2022, we realized that there was some fallout. They won a second term in 2020, but just 2 years later, or just shy of 2 years later, we realized that there was in fact a fallout, and so these parties split. So there was no longer a Team Unity administration in St. Kitts and Nevis. Rather, what we had was the PLP, in essence, basically running the government, with Prime Minister Harris terminating the services of 6 of the elected MPs from the People's Action Movement as well as the Concerned Citizens Movement. And because of the back and forth and all of the drama and all of the rift, it was quite tense. We went back to the polls on August 5th, and now we see a change in government with the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party being able to pull off 6 seats out of the 8 on the island of St. Kitts. So our new Prime Minister, sworn in on Saturday or Sunday, is now Dr. Terence Drew. This is actually his first time winning a seat. He contested 2 previous elections for the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, if I'm not mistaken, and he was recently named the party's leader. Prior to him being the party's leader, the party had the Right Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas as its leader for a number of years. So it's double celebration for Dr. Terence Drew, who is now not only the leader of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, but the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I'm told that he's one of the youngest in the region. On the island of Nevis, where the constituencies combined and we made them into 3 constituencies, we saw the Concerned Citizens Movement winning all 3 seats. However, despite the victory of the Concerned Citizens Movement, it was indeed a fairly close race on the island of Nevis, where, as a matter of fact, allow me to point out that the Concerned Citizens Movement is also the party that is in power on the island of Nevis for the local Nevis Island Assembly elections. So they are the incumbent, as we speak, for the Nevis Island Assembly elections. We saw in St. Kitts, for example, the Jeffrey Handley of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party retaining his seat in constituency number 1. I think what happened this time around was that, yes, the Labour Party, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, did a lot of work. They did a lot of legwork, and they really learned some tough lessons, and you can see that they came to win. However, I think they had an advantage in that, whereas in the previous elections, you just had to choose between 2 political candidates in most instances. That is a candidate for the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party and a candidate for Team Unity, be it from the People's Action Movement or the People's Labour Party. This time around, there were 3 candidates on the ticket in St. Kitts in each constituency. And so I believe that fallout between PAM and PLP resulted, and CCM resulted in a lot of split votes or split loyalty on the island of St. Kitts. So, for example, in East Bastia, which is constituency number 1, the Labour Party retained that seat. However, in Central Bastia, where that seat went to the PAM candidate last time around, in the name of Team Unity, we saw that the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party was victorious, getting 1,195 votes, with the PAM candidate getting just 414, and the candidate from the People's Labour Party getting 466. So that's what I'm talking about in terms of the split. If you were to pull them together, though, I don't think they still would have matched the Labour Party, but it definitely contributed, in my opinion, it was definitely one of the factors that helped the Labour Party over the edge. Then we saw in West Bastia where the Labour Party lost the last time around to the PLP. We saw the Labour Party winning it again with Conwy Maynard, a very popular calypsonian here in St. Kitts and Nevis, winning that seat for the Labour Party. Then we saw a newcomer from the Labour Party again, winning in constituency number 4 with 12,000, a little over 12,000 votes. And the Honourable Lindsay Grant, who was the victor the last time around, mustering up only 761 to the PLP candidates 293. So again, we saw that there was some split loyalty. The leader of the People's Action Movement, Sean Richards, was able to retain his seat. But I must say that the Labour Party, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party candidate came pretty close, considering that Sean Richards is quite popular. Sean Richards got 1,025 votes, and the Labour Party candidate got just 200 votes less than he did. And in previous elections, it has never been this close. Then, of course, the Right Honourable Dr. Denzil Douglas retained his seat handsomely, as well as Prime Minister Harris retaining his seat in number 7 handsomely. But I must say, the Labour Party was able to narrow that gap in terms of against Prime Minister Harris. Then, in the final constituency, the constituency where the new Prime Minister resides, he came out, in a big way, winning and securing 2,104 votes to his closest opponent, scoring just 797 votes and another 575 votes. So that's how the cookie crumbled on the island of St. Kitts. And on Nevis, where there were just 3 constituencies, we saw the Concerned Citizens Movement with the Premier of Nevis, Honourable Mark Brantley, getting a little over 1,600 votes to the NRP's 1,274 votes. The candidate for the NRP was able to narrow that gap this time around. Eric Evelyn, he won handsomely with 616 votes up in Nevis 10 Gingerland. But the new candidate for the NRP, by the way, all of the NRP's candidates were new this time around, was able to narrow that gap, but he only mustered 228 votes. And finally, we saw in Nevis 11, that one was really, really close. We saw the incumbent in Alexis Jeffers, who is Nevis's deputy premier, securing 1,172 votes, with the Janice Daniel Hodge, who is the leader of the NRP, securing 1,113 votes. A mere 59 or so votes, 56, somewhere around their vote difference. So yes, on the island of Nevis, the CCM, Concerned Citizens Movement, was able to secure all of the seats, but in my opinion, they should be very worried about the local Nevis Island Assembly elections that's coming up, because these results are a bit close. And St. Kitts, I honestly believe that the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party may very well be in for a while, considering that they brought forward some very fresh candidates. We have some new faces, young faces, and I think it augurs well for the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party.
Yeah, I was following that. Thank you for that rundown. I was following it very closely, and when I saw the numbers, I was like, well, between PAM and PLP, they basically has handed this election over to the Labour Party, because number one, I've been following. Let me put it that way, and the squabbling and the name calling and then you get, what I noticed was that PLP was doing all these grandiose promises, which was not even real. It's almost like some Santa Claus promises. And Pam was noticeably very, very quiet, comparatively quiet, right? And how it played out is that people just said, "The hell with both of you," really. And
yes, exactly.
they just gave away. They literally gave away the government to the Labour Party. But and looking at the numbers in Nevis, when you do have the local elections, in constituency 11, the honorable well, she's not the leader. She is the leader, I should say. She only lost by 59 votes.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would if I was the person in CCM in 11, I would be out there knocking on doors right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be interesting. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be, well, for the Nevis Island Assembly elections, we moved from 3 seats, 3 constituencies to 5.
Hmm.
So it's a bit different, but generally this election that has just passed really sets the stage for the local election. It gives us an idea of what to expect, and it lets candidates know where they stand. And as you said, let you know that you have to go out there and knock on doors to be able to pull this off.
Yeah. Well, we wanna thank you for that, and we definitely want to invite you back to keep us updated on what's going on in the
Yeah.
federation,
Yes.
especially when is the Nevis Island elections expected.
So it's constitutionally due by March 2023, but I mean, it's going to be called much sooner than that. We're not going to pass this year and not have that Nevis Island Assembly elections. I'm sure of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, give my regards to Dr. Daniel. Is it Dr. Daniel?
Janice Daniel Hodge.
Yes. And tell her we look forward to having her on when she has some time.
Awesome. I'll definitely pass on the message.
I
So thank you
really,
guys so much.
yes. All right.
Thank you
Thank you.
guys so much for having me.
Thank
It's
you.
definitely been a pleasure. I feel like there's a wind of change moving through the Caribbean right now in
Mhm.
terms of shifting leadership and power. And so, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to it, to see where we go next. I'm here for it. So do have a wonderful show. And once again, I say thank you for having me.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Good night. And now we are on to our Dutch sister and brother. Well, I shouldn't say you're Dutch, right? That's an insult. Those who are under Dutch colonization. The irony of it all is a year ago when we had our first show, I would say
Mm-hmm.
our second show, we started off speaking about colonization, and there was a person from St. Maarten who was our guest, Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Black. You may know him, may or may not know him. But here we are once again. Dutch are still doing the most against our people in the Caribbean, and we want you all to just give a brief introduction of yourself. I'll start off with you, Miss Pamela Gordon Carthy. Ladies first.
Okay. Good evening. Good evening to your viewers and your listeners as well, your followers. I want to thank you for inviting me to this show, to this program, where we can exchange valuable information to our followers. I'm Pamela Gordon Carthy. I'm the former Minister of Labor, Health, and Social Development of Country St. Maarten. I'm also the Director of Master Accounting Services from since 2004. And I am the president of the Simply Masters Foundation, which caters towards the well-being of children here on Country St. Maarten.
Okay. And brother James.
And I'm also the leader of the USP party,
Oh,
the
so
new
you're
leader of the USP party.
multitasker for sure. And brother James, over to you.
Good night, everyone. Thomas, many thanks for the opportunity to be in your programs and Territory Talk. And for me, it's an honor to be talking tonight in your program. And I see this is being broadcast all in the region. That is very important for us from Bonaire because I come from Bonaire. Bonaire is a Caribbean island, but it's a Caribbean island outside the Caribbean. It's on the south coast and Venezuela, close to, far away from the Eastern Caribbean. And in our case, we are brothers from the St. Maarten people and other Antillean islands, was Curacao, Aruba, and Bonaire was on the side of the Caribbean, ABC Island, and on the other side were the St. Maarten, Saba, and St. Eustatius. But our situation of the information of our is a little different because we speak a language that is called Papiamentu, and Papiamento is our official language, actually. And Papiamento, together with the Haitian Creole, are the only two official, they call us Creole language, but it's our language, official in the whole Caribbean era. So I'm going to speak tonight broken English because my language is Papiamento. So, I think I can be clear maybe in how I bring everything out. And that is and on Bonaire. They call me a human rights activist, of human rights defender. I've been a banker for a lot of years, for major of my life, mental level. But I decided that when our island was returned to hardcore colonialism in 2010, to become to start fighting for the rights of our people. And then I become a full-time volunteer activist, fighting to regain our rights back as Bonairean people. That's a short who I am. And from the organizations, Noske Bonaire Back, I'm president. It's called We Want Bonaire Back. And also from the organization Bonaire Human Rights, that is so those two organizations. And for the island from Bonaire, I'm actually coming up now tonight to speak about and to share information for the wider Caribbean, because our story has too long been hidden from the Caribbean and the world. Thank you for the opportunity tonight, Mr. Thomas.
All right, thank you. So we'll start off again with you, Ms. Carthy. What is the current political situation in St. Maarten?
Well, the current political situation right about now is in 2020, we had elections. As you know, we were the interim government awaiting elections, and we got elections in January 2020. The next election is due to be in 2024, but it has been the norm that every 2 to 3 years the government does fall, and then it does have snap elections, and other government is sitting and governing the country. St. Maarten is split in two sides. You have the French side and the Dutch side. The French side is governed by France, and the Dutch side is governed by Netherlands, which is Holland. So we fall under the charter of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, and then after that, the Netherlands also falls under the charter, the international charter of the UN. So the political situation right about now is very tense, in the sense of it have a lot going on. The two political parties that is in coalition, because you form a coalition, that's how the government is formed, based on the amount of seats of different parties. They come together and they sit and they form a government, which is the coalition partners that is going to govern the country. Our party got 2 seats, so we are in opposition. And the two political parties that forms the government right about now is the National Alliance, which is the NA, and the UP Party, which is the United People Party. So the two of them, which had the most votes, they formed together. And but it have different ideologies. The two parties have different ideologies, so it's creating a lot of tense. One is seems to be more portraying to be a people's party, in the sense of for the people, that what they have been campaigning on, and the other one is more geared towards the business sector. So it have different things that is contradicting each other when it comes to governing. But at the end of the day, the people is the one who is suffering at the end of the day, because of impasse in the government and different decisions that are supposed to be made for the better of the country or for the better of the people, that is not being taken because of this type of the different poles of how they look at things. So I would say there is an impasse right now on in the political arena, and you can expect elections anytime soon. But
Yes.
it's supposed to be for 2024.
Yeah, that's let me give a good night shout out to Mr. Carl Lefrock in St. Eustatius. I had the pleasure of growing up in Statia as well. And one thing about St. Martin is that the the political scene over there is never without excitement. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
Um, so over and also giving a shout out to Peggy Klein, who's in Tortola in the beautiful Virgin Islands. We don't use the other B word. Um,
Yeah.
and over to you now, brother James. What's the political situation in sorry, Bonaire?
Um, Bonaire actually is a colony. Um, and colonies, they remain political parties, but they have no power. So that's I'm saying from the perspective of our reality is that there are election held, and they call it democracy, but at the end, the people you vote for are in a certain. They keep the net of. Let me go a step back. In the Netherlands Antilles, before the dissolution, because there was a difference between our island and St. Maarten, very big difference. In the Netherlands Antilles, our island had its own local government, as a Nevis and St. Kitts, and we had a federal government as the Netherlands Antilles government. In that system, in that Netherlands, we had own island people in our government decided on island issues, and with we call them commissioners. And we had in the central government we had seats. We had 3 seats, and then we had minister, and we had a state secretary in ours, and we were part of decisions. But after, in 2010, when the Antilles was dissolved, then there the major change happened for us. Why I'm here sitting today to speak about, and why I'm fighting to get the right back. St. Martin's, Curacao, and Aruba and Holland remain countries in the Netherlands, in the kingdom, and Bonaire, where the same as in the stations, were refers to we were annexed illegally and anchored in the Dutch constitution as a public entity. We're not a province, we're not a municipality, we're not those things that you may hear about on the news of information, but we are a public entity that is Article 134 in the Dutch Constitution, a legal position that is possible at the lowest level to give an entity a legal form. Some like they give to a group of notaries. So we were transferred, sent back in time from being nation with minister with the own island government to a position that all power is lost. So after the elections on our island, that is non-significant. The chosen government, of the elected government, that has no power because the power is in The Hague, and the budget is ruled from The Hague. And above our look to understand the reality how it works, and our elected government, there is a governor that is appointed that decide. That is a kingdom representative appointed that decide over the chosen government. That is the ministries in Holland that decides on the issues of the island. Are the ministers who decides? Are the state secretary decides? Is the Parliament of Holland that decides, and the Senate of Holland? So about 7. I know I forget one. They put before that they put a program manager above the government. So our government has a manager.
Wow.
So it's nothing to do with democracy. It's nothing to do with everything everybody knows about it in the world, in the Caribbean, and everywhere else. This is something completely different, completely new, but it's I think it's nothing to do with what we a civilized world should understand. So our situation is not known. That's why tonight I'm happy to have opportunity to talk a little bit because our sisters from St. Maarten still have the possibilities that they had before. It's still complicated for them because the power of Allah is too big, but us, everything disappeared that was supposed to be anything to do with democracy. So shortly, we don't have political influence and political decisions taken in Bonaire and our island.
All right, thank you for that. That's similar to what's going on in Statia, right?
Yes.
Miss Carthy, what is the feeling of the people of St. Maarten towards the current political situation? Not necessarily the party factions, but the fact of the Dutch kept dictating to the people of St. Maarten.
Well, you have several groups. In order for you to really determine what is the thought process, the overall thought process, I think a referendum will have to be held. And it was also proposed on floor of Parliament. And but basically, you have several groups. You have some groups that believe that the Dutch have to come in order to set things straight. They do not believe in the local politicians no more. Because they are stating that they have been given a lot of opportunities in order for them to straighten up a lot of things and get the country going in the right direction, especially after 10-10-10. And you're seeing back now after 12 years that the country has not moved forward too much in the direction that people were hoping for. And so you have that particular group that doesn't believe no more in the people of the country no more. So they want Holland to come in. And you have the other group that is basically does not want Holland to come in and still believe that the right people have to be put in the right positions, in the right place. But because of the system as well, Mr. Thomas, we have a system here sometimes that is not very neutral and objective in the sense of it's who you know that things get done. So that is very prevalent in the government system, that things get going or either things don't move. Who it is you please or who you don't please, who foot you step on and things like that. So it's not very objective when it comes to moving the country forward. And it all depends which one of the parties is there that is governing. So you have that other group that believe that the country can move forward if it have the right people in place. It have some other group as well that believe in independency, that it's time now that the country, start going towards the direction of seeking for the independence, in the sense of they know that it have a lot of qualified people here in the country, but it's still not getting the opportunity. And once given that opportunity, that they can push the country in the right direction. So you have those three major groups, and it have, of course, some that it doesn't matter what happened to the country. They have lost hope in the sense of they have seen enough, and they do not believe that there is any type of opportunity for the country to rise back again. So it have those four major groups that is there right about now. But I think a referendum will be in place in order for us to determine what is the feelings, the real feelings of the people on the country of St. Maarten. Because right now you have also proposals that came from Holland, especially after the pandemic. You have a proposal that is on table right about now, which is the COHO, is a country reform package that has been proposed with a lot of conditions that is given, handed out to the government by Holland. And the conditions are very strict. And you will almost say that the conditions that are being imposed and the way that the agreement has been presented, it almost leaves the government with no type of option to really choose and state what direction they want the country to move forward. So these are conditions that are being imposed by Holland with little to no negotiation. And to that extent, it worsened the opportunity of the country being run the way, capable people would want it to run. So that's what on table right about now with that agreement that is still in discussions. It's trampling over a lot of human rights, and also you're giving less opportunity to the people to take over the country back and try to push it in the right direction, or the direction that they deem that it has to go.
All right, thank you. Brother James, what is the feeling amongst let me make sure I say this properly, the native Bonaireans? What is their feeling about the situation of the Dutch taking over your country?
Our feeling was loud and clear. In 2015, after we forced a referendum, I personally protested for 222 consecutive days for a referendum, demand a referendum till it was given. The people of Bonaire, loud and clear in a referendum, about 66% rejected the current status that was imposed on us without the people's permission. Because we're living in a situation, we're living in a structure that is not that the people choosing. So in a world that we call that some kind of criminal act, but that is the people feeling. They rejected the status overwhelmingly clearly, but it's still imposed on them. So what it means for the Bonairean people, we are living in a situation that we don't want. It's not that we don't want. It's in contrary to all self-determination, democratic, and human rights are being clearly violated in our situation. So that is the legal part. But what it means for Bonairean people, we lose. In the beginning, nobody knew what was going to happen. But meanwhile, everybody understand what happened. That all our local leadership and institution and position were being replaced to Dutch immigrants and positions, and all local businesses were destroyed, being taken over, or for other new Dutch other businesses. So and so on. It goes a list of real takeover of our island by the incoming power, Dutch European power, because they have all powers in it. So it means that we're losing our culture, we're losing our identity, we lose our norms and value, we're losing everything that makes us happy as a people of the right to do. So it is a real big issue, a problem that we're in. And it's very complicated because the island is divided, the system is divided, because they have the major workforce on the island is the government. And who employ the government people? The Dutch, or where the money comes from. So it's very complicated for the people to stand up or speak up or do anything, because if they are related to the government or the working government, so I have to keep quiet and do their job, and so they can eat. And how that works, the other part of the people of Bonaire, that because of this situation, it's a long story, I can't try to make it very short, that because situation we fall, the cost of living and all taxes and everything that raise turn out about 60% of the island directly below the minimum standard of poverty. So, and that means that there are 3 food banks emerged on the island, 3 food banks, yes. And then people I know, and people who are very dignified island people will never do that, standing in line now to go to island, to food banks to complete their monthly survival. And others work 2-3 jobs. Ladies, girls work 2 jobs in the night to take care of the family. So it's not a situation that nobody want to live in, but that is our reality in a short, that we are a very problematic problem, And our biggest problem is that our local population are being destituted, are being reduced. We were reduced to a minority in our island in a decade because this started happening since 2010. By 2018, we were less than 40% when they bring out the statistics, official statistics, and the indication of is that by 2030 we will be less than 1/3 of the population. So that is our future. So we don't have a future in this line. It's going that is very, very hard. I know the Caribbean doesn't know about this. I know because I've been going around in the Caribbean and other countries. Nobody knows about it. But I have to tell tonight the truth of our relationship with the Dutch is very good hidden, but it's a very high level of criminal, according to human rights and everything else that make us civilized world.
All right, thank you for that, Miss Carthy.
I have a quick question for him, Chris.
Mhm.
Before we move on. So, Mr. James, as far as from a United Nations perspective, have you guys been attending any of the decolonization meetings in terms of like the local island representation, or is everything being controlled by Holland?
We have no representation at any level, at any forum, anywhere in this world. We're lost. If you go on Google now, look for Bonaire, you won't find Bonaire anymore. There's Curacao and Aruba, our island disappeared from the world map. Actually, yes, go check it. So we have no representation. We cannot speak up in any forum because we are not represented anywhere in any time. So we don't have the possibility to speak in any forum as the people of Bonaire.
Wow. This is very interesting. This is an extreme level of suppression, Chris. I don't know what else to call it.
It's a word for it. The Dutch invented it. It's called apartheid. That's a word.
Sure. Very sure.
Ms. Carthy, you represent several different organizations. What are your organizations, specifically the US Party, doing to bring awareness of self-determination to the people of St. Maarten?
Well, actually, what we are doing right now is just like how we are now talking on your show, on your program. We are doing that throughout the country itself with local medias. We are keeping different interviews. We also have a radio program which we voice our opinion on the different topics that is ongoing, and you educate the people through that. We also have a Newsweek letter, which we also distribute on the country of St. Maarten, which we touch base on different topics of importance that we know the media is hiding or basically not shedding enough light on, which is important for the people to know. Because again, like Mr. Finies said, the media is very much have an important role to play when it comes to disbursement of the news worldwide. And by withholding certain information, you are providing a different view of things to the outer world. You know, a lot of things is being hidden. So the truth is not out there. It's only through these type of shows that you get the opportunity for you to really relay back and inform the public of what is really going on in that particular country. So as a party, we have come up with a strategy which we don't use a Facebook only as a means of information, but we also have the newsletter that is being distributed on the country of St. Maarten, where we as a party, we shed light on different things that is of importance for the country and for the people to know, but that is being really kept back. So we are using those type of means, and we are also tapping into the different programs that is being kept and held on a regional level, just like your program here, Territory Talks, where we can get more of a communication base with the other leaders, the other representatives in different regional countries, that we can exchange information, gather information, and also learn from what they are going through, and also inform the world of what is going on. So, and that means that is what we as a party is doing from our end in order to inform the public, not only on a local level, but also on a more international level.
Okay, thank you. I think you have a PowerPoint that we will share in a few minutes when we come back to you.
Yeah.
Brother James, what is your organization doing? I know what you're doing, but let the world know what you're doing to bring awareness of what's going on in Bonaire, please.
On the island itself, we have been very active. We are a civil society. We have been organizing protests, the referendum. As I I've explained earlier, that was based on our 8 months non-stop during protest, where we occupied the government building and said I will not leave till we get a referendum. So after 8 months, they had to give in and sign the referendum. So that is something we did to bring awareness of our rights to self-determination, and that is one major thing. Next, we collect signatures on the island. About 1/4% of the island signed a petition to us. Is about awareness about the self-determination right. But next to that, we have an office, human rights office in the center of the city, where we do our activities, and there we have the flags of United Nations flying, and so that's awareness. And we also have a weekly live program on the radio, television, Facebook is passing, and we of course we're doing press releases very often. But now what we're doing now, since February, today is the 176th day. That's about over 6 months, almost 6 months that we are on a mission, awareness mission, and throughout the Central American, Latin America, and now in the Caribbean. So we're passing from the countries from Mexico, going down Honduras, Panama, etc. In case you saw me, we meet each other there in Suriname, etc. So that's what I've been doing for the last 6 months, non-stop out of our island, bringing awareness, explaining our situation to the Latin American countries, and now we are in the Caribbean. Since last week, I'm here in Barbados, so spreading the information, awareness on our Bonaire situation, and it has to do with our self-determination rights, our right to decolonization, and these are the fundamental human rights. So that is shortly how we are dealing with bringing awareness, and our people in Bonaire are supporting us in this because they are donating. You asked me just now if I own Bonaire. No, the people have hope that this is a way we may have a possibility to a change, and that's why they're supporting us in this effort. The people of Bonaire helping us to realize this awareness mission and trips.
All right, thank you. So we're going to now, Ms. Gordon Carthy, you have a PowerPoint that you'd like to share?
Yes, I have a short PowerPoint based on the topic that you asked me to prepare something that I would like to share it with the public, with your viewers, if you don't mind. Is Shaina going to share it, or do I have to?
Yeah, once you click on share the screen, then I will bring it up.
Okay. Share Windows. Okay.
You clicked on it?
Yep.
Okay, not seeing it as yet. Oh, okay. I see it. Add to stream. Okay. All right. So you can advance it and do whatever you need to do with it.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I wanted to say thank you, a special thank you again to Mr. Famous and yourself, Miss Shaina, for having me on this regional program where great minds come together and discuss the regional issues that is ongoing. Welcome to all viewers and followers of the Territory Talks program. Today, the topic that I was invited on is to discuss about self-determination and the decolonization process. So for those, I know that many are viewing this now or they will be viewing it after. So I will be just giving like some brief definitions of different things, and then I will just go into the PowerPoint presentation. So the self-determination is, we all know that it is a free choice of one's own acts without external compulsion, so that you're not being suppressed into doing things. And right about now, in the case of Country St. Maarten, we have, like I mentioned before, the coho, which is on table, which is being discussed with Country St. Maarten, Aruba, and Curacao, which have different conditions that is against, I would say, different constitutional laws and human rights laws. So basically, you're already suppressing the self-determination of the country of St. Maarten when it comes to the Dutch side. Now, compulsion can come in many forms to portray something else. There is many ways that people use the tactics in order to portray something to the outer world, whilst it means it is in reality, it is something else. It can come in the form as an agreement, as a proposal, and within those proposal of agreement, you have limited choices, you have limited negotiation room, or the wording, how they formulate the entire agreement or the proposal. If you read in between the lines, it entails that there is no opportunity to really make any type of decisions. And that's basically the case, what we have right about now, that we are encountering right about now. And that becomes basically a very suppressive determination, self-determination. It stifles growth because of the different conditions that is put, the way they are formulated and the way they are imposed. It stifles the growth of the country, and it's creating room for an external overtake. Basically, when you look on the long run, what is going to accomplish is it's creating basically the room to take over that country in many aspects and forms. Now, when we're talking about self-determination, there is 5 principles that we have to take into account, which is one of them is freedom. You, as a country, you need to have freedom for you to make your own decisions. You need to have that authority on the highest level. You need to have support in order for you to determine what direction to go, not to go. Of course, you have a high responsibility with the people of the country, and you need confirmation in order for you to proceed. Moving forward. Now, when talking decolonization, we have to make sure that we have the definitions correct when it comes to decolonization and colonization. Okay, so you have one definition stating that the right and ability of indigenous people to practice self-determination over their land, culture, and political and economic system. So once you have that, you own that, then basically you are not colonized, so you are decolonized. When you take that right and that ability to do all of these things and determine for yourself how you're going to go about it, that's what we call, when you don't have that, basically you are colonized. Then it have the other definition that says when a colony controlled by another country becomes independent, the process requires non-Indigenous people to acknowledge the roles colonial history and recognize how it led to the paralyzation of Indigenous communities. Of course, colonizers, the modus operandi, how they does do is you stifle the community, the growth of it, and you exercise suppression in many different forms, either through political or through justice system. That's the main sources that they will tackle on in order for them to streamline the country in the direction that they want it to go. So, like stated below there, the modus operandi is paralyzation, is through labor laws. If you want to have a country on its knees, most of the times they will tackle that sector, the middle class sector, which is the one that has the economy going. And they will tackle on to that and they will try to weaken that. So through labor laws, mechanism, you will see that it weakens the system. You will find that that middle class is becoming very suppressed, is under a lot of tension and pressure. The justice system is what it also does use. If you analyze a country and you see how the justice system is run and by who it is run, you get already an indication of what is going on in that country. The political ruling techniques that is being used is also an indication as to what is really happening and who has the power, who are pulling the strings on the back end, especially when you realize that certain decisions that has to be made that is for the good of the country and is not being taken by that government that is sitting, then you already know that there are games being played and that there are people pulling strings at the back end, which is also happening right about now on country St. Maarten. It also have that you're creating a big social gaps in the sense of you get more people getting poor. The poverty line is basically coming up, so you get that social level becomes higher and bigger. Like did I say in terms of haves and haves not. So you either have or you don't have. It becomes that basically the middle class is being suppressed. That it becomes it's either they can make it or they cannot. So the creation of a social gap, and when you create that, basically you are putting your people out of jobs, but those jobs are still in existence, but they're being taken over by outsiders. Okay. And the increase in debt ratio through the agreements and through the proposals that is being proposed to the country on a higher level. It's with the intention to increase the debts so that you always have that thumb over the head of the country. The end goal basically is to take over, and most of the times they will penetrate in the most important pillars of the economy. If you realize and do an analysis of the different pillars of country St. Maarten right about now, you will see that there is a lot ongoing, and there is ongoing justice courts rulings that will permit or shed a light to the outer world that things are not being run properly, so that there is a reason why the outside world or why the Dutch have to come in order to set things in order. That's what is being portrayed. Now, how the colonizers operate, I think majority of the people will know that the modus operandi never changes. Years in, years out, decades pass, it never changes. It's just the players that change, but the goal remains the same thing throughout the decades, which is to take over either on a slow pace or very rapidly unnoticed, and in a way that they are portraying that they are giving a helping hand, but at the back end, what they're doing is just taking over the pillars of the economy. No, I have here the first tablet, which shows proposals and agreement pretending to be of assisting the country. You have that they put their own in key positions with the branding that is just technical assistance for a limited amount of time, which becomes unlimited. They never goes back, and they never train our people to take over those positions. And they portray it in a certain way, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really happen. You are weakening the working class. That's always the target. You have to weaken that working class in order for you to weaken the economy as well. And then, yeah, you prepare for taking over. So the shifting of power. Now, before a country can go through the decolonization process, because you have that group that I mentioned about that would like St. Maarten to start preparing for going independent. Again, it's something that, of course, at the end of the day, when you measure and you put everything into perspective, that's the direction that countries in Maarten eventually have to take. But before you take that direction, you have to have certain things in place. You have to analyze the situation. You have to assess the situation. You have to admit that this is really actually happening. You have to line up all the dots and all the points. And in order for you to do that, then you're going to strategize how you're going to take the country out of the situation that they are right about now. And we are still on time, like Mr. Finies said. We are still on time that we can do that, but we need to strategize and see how we're going to move it, do it step by step. You have to do self-recognition. I think Mr. Finies mentioned just now that country of Bonaire has lost their identity. I think it's important if a country is going into becoming independent, that they have to regain and gain that self-identity. They have to recognize themselves as a people, know who they are, what is a St. Maarten. Different definitions have to be defined and come forward so everybody is on the same line. You have to recognize that your people are valuable and worth it, and not believe that only people from outside, because we have a lot of that is happening in countries in Maarten, that they do not believe in their own because of past experience, and they do not give others the opportunity to prove or to show otherwise because of the bad taste in the mouth that they have from past experience. So we have to recognize our own first. We have to own our culture as well. Our culture is being put in the sand. You can hardly recognize or see it. I think we have to give more value to the culture of the country of St. Maarten, and put it, leave it, live its life out there, especially in the school system. Let the children know what is the culture of the country, so they can own their history and know where they're coming from and where they're going, so they can get that passion for the country once more again and fight for what belongs to them. On educational level, I believe that there is much to be done. The educational level, it has to be geared towards having more of our children on a level where they can take over the country when it reach to that point, that when they finalize, whether it's on the country or overseas, that they come back. So laws have to be put in place in order for us to protect them and have them come back, and give them the priority above everyone else, when they can prove that basically they've gone to study certain things and bring them back over into the country. Now, of course, the government have the role to play, because when providing scholarship, you have to provide scholarship in the sense of knowing where it is you want to bring the country, and the different levels and the different type of functions that will have in order for you to give those students that scholarship, in order for you to have on all the different levels, the different qualified people from your own country that can take over those functions. And eventually you can start preparing the country and moving in the right direction. Okay. Therefore, the basis of having updated laws is important. We know that our laws are outdated. And what is happening right about now is that the government is not updating the laws on a regular basis, so permitting for things to continue to develop and going in the wrong direction. So I think it is important that those laws be upgraded and updated to an extent where you can see that the country is moving in the right direction. Now,
Okay.
the major
we have to actually kind of wrap it up now.
Okay. Now, the land has to be maintained. We have now that lands are being really given out to people, and we have to try for the land to stay as much as possible in the ownership of the people itself, because when you have land, you protect your country. So that is something that the policy when it comes to land, it has to be revised. And there I have like all the different laws, the Article 81 that everybody can find on the internet, which is the legal regulations of countries in Maarten where it falls under. And it is known that international laws are also against colonialism. So therefore, that gives us the opportunity for us to fight against it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the detailed presentation. Unfortunately, our media partners, we are limited to 1 hour, so that's why we have to wrap it up.
Okay.
Because this show will be rebroadcast in several different islands, and they give us a 1 hour time slot. So once again, thank you to our media partners, PJFE in Saba. I think you all know that. Dave Levingston. There's Cayman Is in Cayman Islands, Radio Turks in Caicos, Channel 82 in Bermuda, CBC Radio in Barbados, and I think I may have forgot one.
CBN Radio, Virgin Islands,
CBN
and
Radio in Virgin Islands. Yes, how could I forget that? Yes, brother James, would you like in 1 minute or less? Could you wrap it up? And we'll have you all back at another time, but we have to wrap this up for tonight.
You're on mute, sir.
We're happy that you give us the opportunity and platform to share our reality with the wider Caribbean. I think it was loud and clear, and I hope that from this that the questions start raising to all people in the Caribbean. If we want the Caribbean to remain with a situation like ours, that's a clear violation of all human rights and all self-determination rights, all charters, all things that is normal everywhere in the world. So that is for us the message tonight, that we Caribbean apartheid in our island, and that is only with solidarity and to raise our voices that the world will know, and we can make a change to save the Bonaire people from a direct path of extinction, extermination. If that doesn't happen, the Caribbean will witness the Bonaire people disappearing, because we have small population, and the statistic shows that we will disappear in 20, 30 years. So that's why I have to scream harder. That's why we're doing. That's why we'll continue fighting that is known. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. Danke, as they say. And Ms. Gordon Carthy, would you like to wrap it up for us?
Sure. I want to give you thanks. Thanks to you and Ms. Shaina for inviting us and for having us and giving us the opportunity to voice our, provide the world with our statements on what is going on in our country. And we're looking forward for our next invite with 2 hours span.
No, see, you got see if you get the thing, with Caribbean people, if you give it to them all at once, they're gonna forget. So you got to give them a little bit at each time.
Keep it going.
Right.
And I want to thank you guys for being on and coming and sharing your stories. I mean, for what we're going through here in the Virgin Islands, I'm kind of like my jaw is on the floor, because it is something where it gives, I think for me, gives me a glimpse of what it is we have to really stand firm. And as we say locally, chalk our foot and really, put up, stand up for what's right for us as a Caribbean people and as Virgin Islanders, and not take for granted the things that are happening. So I really appreciate you guys coming and being very candid in the information that you shared. I also shared the link to the video, Mr. Finies, in the comments, so persons can go and look at that video. Are the people of Bonaire becoming extinct? So that's on there. They can go and pull that up on the Facebook page.
Thank you.
And I think we're going to try to get that presentation as well, Ms. Pamela, because that's some very important information, I think, in terms of explaining what it is happening, and what's going on.
Yep. No problem.
Okay,
All
thanks.
right. So again, thank you to for this year of support from all our viewers, those who watch us on Facebook, YouTube, or follow us on our Facebook page. We appreciate the support, and we will be taking a few weeks break, right, Shanna?
Yes,
And
please.
we'll be taking a few weeks break, but I promise you, we have some
We
very
will be, yeah.
um, interesting stuff coming up sometime in
Hmm.
September or October.
Definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
All right. Bye.
All right. Good night.